this album is one of those albums, it's almost like The Godfather or something. It's part of the cultural landscape. Everybody's heard it. Most people like it. Most people have seen Behind the Music or classic album episodes on VH1 about it. Everybody's heard the legends. So when I was reading your book, it was just interesting to me to like, you know what, I'm getting it straight from the horse's mouth. Here's how it really went down. And you mentioned that drive to Sausalito. In the first chapter, you talk about, you moved out here to LA. You're a super hard worker. You immediately set about getting a job. You landed a job, I believe, at Wally Heider Studios.
Right.
And you mentioned him as your mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you got to work really, really fast. And one of the things that amused me, you kind of make this quick toss off like, oh yeah, you know, I'm doing some strings for Band on the Run and Paul McCartney dropped down. I mean, that's huge. And you jumped right into the deep end.
Well, I was just young. I was ready to go. I loved what I was doing. I moved here as I wrote in the book that I had been playing guitar and I came down I followed my girlfriend down here and I thought I'd get a job in a recording studio. Figured I'd work, at night when I wasn't working, I'd go record myself and sell 1 million records and that'd be it.
Of course.
And then the first session I did was with Crosby, Stills and Nash. And I looked at that and I realized how pathetic I was, I was never going to be a superstar. I mean, I was this and they were gigantic. But suddenly I fell in love with the console, the thing, that all the dial switches and knobs. And I really just kind of moved into this passion of making music and making this music sound as good as possible. So that was really how I got started working with Fleetwood Mac. They gave me the opportunity of making the best sound on every instrument, making it sound as good as possible. And they'd let me spend hours, working on a guitar part or a keyboard part, and we'd be messing with strings, changing strings or putting different effects on, changing amps, trying different direct boxes, other technical things. So they were thrilled with that, making that. I told them the first day, I said, we're going to get a Grammy for this record.
We're going to return to that because as we see right here, your partner to co-produce this record was Richard Dashit.
Right.
But when you first met him, and just a couple of weeks before you would go to Sausalito to start work on Rumours, you had never heard of Fleetwood Mac.
Right.
And so Richard walks in, and I guess that you have just gotten the gig to mix an hour for the King Biscuit Flower Hour.
Right.
And it was a live show that Fleetwood Mac had done. So you were going to mix that, and you and he became fast friends. And one of you asked the other one, as you do, want to get high. And you guys got high and proceeded to work, became friends. And
11 o'clock on Saturday morning, I recall. Gorgeous day, and that's what I had to do on Saturday, make music. So,
well, the band was very pleased with your work on that, and I believe they brought in someone else to continue some work. He didn't get the gig because he was trying to use flying faders, and it surprised me. I didn't even think that existed at 76. I didn't know that they already had consoles with flying faders, which is motorized gear.
I don't think they were flying faders, but they were computerized. I mean, they had a little light you'd have to match the LED light. And this guy that he had already been hired to do the album, and the Rumours album.
Yeah. But
I just got hired to do this radio show.
Yeah.
But the radio show was all the songs from their previous album, which was what he was supposed to be actually mixing to get the job. But there was no pressure on me. It was just a radio show. It was Saturday morning, and so I was just so comfortable and relaxed in my own studio that I work at all the time, doing what I do, that it came out really good. The next day, Sunday, they went over to work with him to actually remix the single, the Rhiannon single. And I guess in comparison, he was nervous.
Yeah.
They were nervous. They were on his ass, and they were kind of going, "What's going on? Why wasn't it coming out so good?" So he didn't get the gig. They called me back Monday morning and said, "Can you come in and mix the single, Rhiannon?" So I did. Same thing, you know, just did it just like I did it. And Stevie's dancing and twirling. And I remember one time she said, Ken, can you put a little more fairy dust on my vocal? I said, sure, Stevie. You know, turn the imaginary knob.
You can't turn down Stevie Nicks.
No.
Fairy dust, we've got as much as you want. So the band was pleased with your work. Mick speaks with Richard Dashit, says that he's going to get to make the record. Richard says, well, I want to bring Ken. They're all agreeable to that. Next thing you know, you are driving to Sausalito with your dog Scooter. And if we could bring up the record plant, oh, here, we have it. So this all transpires over a 2-week period. So 2 weeks ago, you didn't really know who Fleetwood Mac was. Now you're driving to the studio to work on the record.
Yep, to live with some musicians, and I thought this was got to be weird.
Yeah.
You know, because I knew a little bit about musicians, and I know they're unconventional, and they're children. Yes. They're, you know. So I thought, well, Scooter, it's you and me, buddy.